Dyslexic brains have huge advantages over neurotypical brains. There's four major ones. The first one is called material reasoning. The second one is called dynamic reasoning. The third one is called narrative reasoning. And the fourth one is called interconnected reasoning. Collectively, these strengths are called the dyslexic mind strengths. In this video, we're going to be focusing in on interconnected reasoning. Hi friends, my name is Nishantha. I am a dyslexia coach and teacher. I work here in Southern California. On this channel, I teach dyslexics how to do knowledge work. Interconnected reasoning, or I strengths, create exceptional ability to spot connections between different objects, concepts, or point of views. They include the ability to see how phenomena like objects, ideas, events, or experiences are related to each other either by likeness, similarity, or togetherness, or in cause and effect relationships. So this interconnected reasoning ability is really cool because it allows dyslexics to take lots of different information about an object of thought and unite all those ideas and concepts together in a single global view. So when you look at something, a bunch of other information gets incorporated into that thing that you're observing, the thing that you are trying to solve, the thing that you're creating, has a bunch of rich connections already associated with it. So this big picture way at looking at things allows dyslexics to extract the gist or the main idea from complex ideas and figure out the most important parts. So the way I like to think about interconnected reasoning is I like to imagine that there is a Wikipedia database in everyone's heads. And people with really strong interconnected reasoning abilities, their Wikipedia database has a lot more links in between articles. So whenever they're trying to enter something into their database or pull something out of their database, they're not just pulling the information from that particular article, but also thousands and thousands of other articles that are related to that one. So whatever they're putting into their heads, whatever they're putting into their Wikipedia page is gonna have a lot more information and a lot more connectedness and a lot more context than a neurotypical person. So the stronger your interconnected reasoning abilities are, the more links in between the articles there is. There's just more relationships between ideas. All right, a quick announcement before we get to the rest of the video. I created a quiz so you can find out dyslexic strengths you have. The link is in the description below. Click on it, take the quiz, and find out right now. All right, let's jump back into the video. So there's basically three major strengths people with strong interconnected reasoning abilities have. First one is strengths in perceiving relationships. The second one is strengths in shifting perspectives. And the third is the strengths in global thinking. I'm gonna go over each of those with you guys really quickly. The first one is strengths in perceiving relationships. Basically what this means is dyslexics with strong interconnected reasoning abilities are able to see similarities, correlations, and cause and effect relationships. When a dyslexic person encounters a situation, they have a broad way of looking at it rather than a narrow way of looking at it because they have so much more access to relationships than a typical person. So the second strength of interconnected reasoning is called strengths in shifting perspectives. So basically this allows people with strong I strengths to be able to look at problems and approach those problems using lots of different perspectives from different fields. So if you're approaching a problem in the medical field, you might be able to solve that using something that you learned in business or something that was applied in engineering or something that was applied in computer science. So the problem that you're approaching, even though the domain is in medicine, you're able to apply a bunch of different ideas from different industries to solve this particular thing because you're able to approach this problem using different perspectives. Personally, this is one of my favorite interconnected reasoning abilities and skills. I use this all the time, and what it does is it allows me to fully jump into things I'm curious about because I know whatever I learn in that area, in that industry, even if it's not completely related to my job or my main focus, I'll be able to pull ideas and concepts and perspectives from that hobby, from that interest, the thing that I'm curious about, and pull it into to help me solve things later on in the main thing that I'm working on, like my job or like this YouTube channel or like the coaching that I'm doing or being a parent or having good relationships with the people around me. I know when I approach things that I'm curious about, I'll be able to pull certain ideas from those and apply it to solve problems within the domain that I'm supposed to be working in. So I never feel like I'm wasting time pursuing things I'm curious about because I know there's going to be some interesting things that I can use later on. So the third interconnected reasoning advantage or strength is called strengths in global thinking. Basically what this means is people with strong interconnected reasoning abilities are able to combine different types of information into a single unified theory or a global view. This ability is really cool because it allows you to take a bunch of different ideas, look at the relationships between those ideas, and pull the gist, the thing that unites all those things together in a nice way. So it allows you to come up with like big theories. It allows you to come up with big ideas that are not explicitly given in any of these fields, but when you look at the relationships, you're able to kind of see like thematic ideas that you could miss if you didn't see the relationships. And when you find the relationships between those ideas, those concepts, those phenomenons, and pull that out and then examine that particular thing on its own, and then you're able to apply that essence to other areas of the projects you're working on, or other interests that you're trying to do, or problems that you're trying to solve. So personally, my strongest dyslexic ability out of the 4 mind strengths is interconnected reasoning. Since I have my strongest abilities there, I also have my most challenging difficulties here as well. And one of the most difficult things about being a very good interconnected reasoning thinker and having a brain that's really good at interconnected reasoning is when we're trying to learn things. It takes us a lot longer. Let me just give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. So when a neurotypical person is learning something, I like to think that they're learning information in like a very compartmentalized way, kind of like in a book. So the pages are connected to each other, but the book itself is not connected to other ideas. Whereas when a person with really strong interconnected reasoning abilities are trying to learn something, whatever they upload, whatever information in this book, it has to be consistent with all of their other ideas. So not only are they uploading a book, what's actually happening is they're kind of like updating their Wikipedia page. So it takes dyslexics with strong eye strengths a lot longer to learn the fundamentals of things, because they constantly have to make sure that their information that they're uploading, the information that they're learning, is internally consistent with the rest of their knowledge base. And the thing that is really cool and really sucky about this whole thing is in the beginning, it takes a lot longer for us to upload something into a Wikipedia page. But once that thing is uploaded, whatever we upload is gonna be a lot more useful than a book that's just sitting by itself. So what I'm saying is, for people with really strong interconnected reasoning abilities, in the beginning, when you're trying to learn the fundamentals, it's going to take you a lot longer. But once those fundamentals are inside your Wikipedia database with a bunch of other really rich relationships and context in place, well, then you're going to be able to access those fundamentals a lot faster. So whenever you dive deeper into that topic, whenever you are trying to go deeper and learn more about that idea, then those relationships and those links will really support your learning. So over time, you can get faster at learning things, and the learning that you're doing is going to be a lot more like rich with context. The thing that was really frustrating in the beginning when I was first learning about my dyslexia and my dyslexic brain, what I would see is I would see other people just like run past me when they're trying to learn something in the beginning, and I would be like, oh man, I'm feeling really behind. And then it would take months and months and months, and then I would get to a point where I would just be able to like just learn so much faster than them because I mastered these fundamentals. And I think this is an experience that a lot of dyslexics with strong interconnected reasoning feel. It just takes us a little bit longer to learn the beginning, but then once we have the fundamentals down, boy, we can just fly. So another challenge that people with really strong interconnected reasoning abilities have is when they're taking standardized tests. When we're taking standardized tests, a lot of the time those tests are designed to give an answer that is most correct. And when we look at a question and we look at the answers, well, all of those answers and questions seem like they can belong because we have such a rich understanding of relationships. And when we look at something, we just see things in relationships. So when we look at a standardized test, all the answers seem like they can work that the person that was even writing the test couldn't even see. So when we look at it, it's really easy for us to pick the wrong answer. So another problem that dyslexics with really strong interconnected reasoning abilities face is sometimes we don't know where one idea starts and another idea begins. It's really hard for us to delineate different ideas. So when we are writing something, when we're creating a project, when we are trying to do some homework, when we're trying to talk to someone, it's really hard for us to stick to that one particular topic because the way we look at the world is through relationships, and there's nothing in isolation. Everything is connected to everything else in the way we look at things. So it's hard to explain something without everything else that's connected to it. And sometimes we forget that other people don't see the world this way. Most people see the world in this compartmentalized way. So when we deliver information, when we create content, when we are talking to people, it's really important to find that idea, isolate it, and then present it to them It doesn't seem natural for us to do that because that's not the way we see the world, but most people do see the world that way. So when we're communicating, we can have some issues around those ideas. So why do some dyslexics have this really strong interconnected reasoning ability? In this book, The Dyslexic Advantage, it goes into details, but I'll just give you the big overview right now. So basically how it works is in our brains, we have these things called mini columns, and these mini columns are able to connect different brain areas together. Usually on a neurotypical brain, what happens is there's different parts of the brain that is in charge of processing different types of information. So information about feelings will be processed in a certain area, information about smell, taste, sight. There's different brain areas that are in charge of processing information for a particular function. So in a dyslexic brain, when it's processing information, it doesn't really process it in this centralized way like a neurotypical brain. What it does is it incorporates a bunch of different brain areas together through this system called mini columns, and it uses these big circuits, like big whole brain circuits, in order to process information. So when you're pulling lots of information from different brain areas, then you're able to create these relationships. So this neurocircuitry explanation is the strongest theory that we have in order to explain why interconnected reasoning works the way it works. All right, a quick announcement before we get to the rest of the video. If you're dyslexic and you want to join a community of like-minded dyslexic people, join the community. It's at community.howtodyslexia.com. I'll leave a link in the description below. All right, let's jump back into the video. I'm going to read you some career ideas for people with strong interconnected reasoning abilities. So computer software designer for network programming, system programming, and system architecture. Scientist, zoologist, biochemist, geneticist, chemist, environmental scientist, geologist, paleontologist, physicist, astronomer, astrophysicist, naturalist, environmentalist, inventor, museum director, clothing or fashion designer, tailor, seamstress, dancer, choreographer, musician, actor, chef, history, political science. Some other occupations are historian, political scientist, sociologist, anthropologist, philosophy professor, comedian, nurse, therapist, and trainer. So these are just some ideas from this book, The Dyslexic Advantage. Figure out which dyslexic strength you fall into. Figure out how your brain works. This is like a super important thing to crack. Once you crack your code and figure out what your brain type is, you can really lean into your strengths, and then you can figure out the challenges. And like when you're messing up, you can kind of think about like how your brain works, why it's doing the thing it's doing, and then kind of come up with strategies to overcome your challenges, and then come up with strategies to even like rely on your advantages and like even amplify your advantages moving forward in like achieving whatever you want to achieve. All right, everybody. Love you. Talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.